Payment performance bonds are obviously required after execution. Here's a few ways to goof up. Number one, guaranteed to get you kicked out. Late delivery of a bid, or if you're a professional service provider, late delivery of the response to the RFQ. And here's the excuses I've heard recently. Traffic was heavy. It's hard to find parking on campus. Yes, I know, I work here. I didn't know they shut down the loop road on campus. Now you do. My mom is ill. That's horribly unfortunate. There was a wreck in Ventura. And these are all interesting, but they don't get you a time extension. If you're not in with your bid documents or your proposal on time, that's it. You're booted. Failing to complete the applicable bid documents or provide everything required by the RFQ in a professional services project. When we go out on RFQs, we tell you exactly how you should respond to us. We tell you section 1 should be your resume, section 2 should be a list of experience on the projects described in Article 3. When we go through point by point to tell you how to respond. If you don't do that, you're not going to get evaluated by the committee. Failing to provide required material in a bid packet, such as bidder's bond, a copy of the pocket license, corporate verification, the state required non-collusion affidavit, or failing to comply with any unique requirements, such as higher insurance limits that may be required. And then just briefly, I already spoke about this, if you're interested in projects right now, you say, I'm here today to get some hot leads, I want to jump in on some projects. We've got the Meat Processing Center due date when we issue our addendum on this, March 30th, $4.6 million construction budget. Center for Science is the tentative one that I mentioned, and that's $85.6 million. And then I just wanted, I've told you about insurance requirements and prevailing wage. I just want to point out a couple of things. If you're looking, whether you're looking to be a sub because your prime may look to you for some substantial backup on bonding and insurance, as well as prevailing wage, which is required. If you take a look in the contract general conditions I gave you, there's a great labor provision that starts, well, section 4.02, and it runs, 4 pages, 3.5 pages. And it talks about the prevailing wage requirements and the penalty for not providing the records in time. So if we ask for the records, even if you complied with prevailing wage, we still have to extract a penalty from you for not responding in time under the audit. So that gives you a feel about prevailing wage that you as a prime, or your prime if you're a sub, will be dealing with. And then the other provision about contractors insurance is in 4.06, and you see that runs 3.5 pages, plowing right into an indemnification provision holding the state harmless, relating to failure to perform your obligations, inaccuracy of any representations, claims of damage or loss by any person. And then at the back, these are supplemental general conditions at the back of your packet. I put in the DVBE 2.13, the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise requirements, which is a hard 3% requirement on design bid build. And then also at the back of that is a little amendment, it's the next to last page, a little amendment to the insurance provisions. And you see for these CGCs, which are on projects with a budget of $5 million or more, requires general liability insurance of $10 million instead of what's called out in the standard conditions. And so this is something that it will vary on project by project bases, but I wanted you to get a feel for what's out there. If you're a sub, will your prime require that? Maybe not. Maybe your prime will let you come in at a much lower level because they're covering it on their policy. They're ultimately the ones responsible to us. But you need to be aware of what they may be facing as their requirements if they start pushing on you with insurance. That being said, are there any questions?
Yeah, those job order contracts, are
Yes.
those posted in the same section where the notice to bidders is on your website?
Yeah, they are. They would be under projects currently bidding, and it would just be described as a job order contract. And again, since most of our jocks are $3 million maximum amount, we'll typically require a CSU financial pre-qual on that amount. Same thing though, if you say, I'm not quite at that level as far as my bonding ability and my insurance ability, but I'd love to do a work on a jock contract. Keep in mind that the jock contractors, right now we have Mano Construction out of San Luis has one contract, and Staples out of Ventura has another one. They're looking for subs and material men, and so they're good people to approach. You may have, I think we had somebody that did unique work he was proposing. When you seal the road, you've got the slurry, and if a student walks through that and stains sidewalks, carpets, etc., what he specializes in is cleaning up those messes. And it seems like a goofy thing, a very small niche process, but if it happens and students do goofy things like that, then you've got a great job because they're going to turn to somebody as a sub like that. The other questions? Okay.
On these insurance requirements and so forth for the general contractor, do the subcontractor that he hires have to meet those standards as well?
It's up to the prime contractor. So we're looking to the prime to implement these requirements. And on the construction contract, sometimes the prime may look to a sub who's doing a very small, low-risk portion of the work. And if you're doing steel work where you're hanging from beams, they are going to want to see pretty heavy insurance. If you're a cabinet maker installing cabinets on a one-day project, they may not even require any insurance from their sub. It's really between them and their sub at that point. So yeah, this is just as to us in the prime. And the interesting thing is a lot of times if you haven't dealt with the CSU, our insurance department gets copies of insurance certificates that completely don't comply with these requirements, such as the additional insured requirements and notification for cancellation. They are absolutely strict on this, and if you don't have it done in the 10 days after we issue the contract, we have the right to move on to the next bidder. So if you're looking at us as a prime, you want to talk to your surety, you want to talk to your insurance broker way in advance and give them a heads up. We've got one contractor who's done a number of jobs on campus, competitively bid, and jock as well. He always gets his stuff in like 2 days after we give the contracts to him. And I asked him one time, I said, how do you turn this around so quickly? He said, hey, look, I've given my bonding company heads up before I even bid the project and gave them the terms of the bonds and the copies of the bonds in the package. I've given my insurance company the heads up. Sometimes I've even cleared the certificates with your insurance department before I bid so that they say, yes, if you issue this exact same certificate, if you win the project, you're ready to go. And so that's a good way to keep yourself out of trouble and having us move on to the next potential bidder. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much for inviting me here today. And you've got some great presenters coming up too. Ann and on the prevailing wage, and I think we have a surety presentation, so it's great material. Thanks, Monty.